Get a lawyer in here, jam things up. What are you talking about?
All right, let's start off with the cheers. Cheers, guys.
Cheers.
Cheers. Welcome.
Thank you.
All right, welcome back, guys. Week number 4, 10 plus 1.
Week number 4, month.
Yeah, solid.
Month in the books.
Yeah. I'm Corey Blanc.
I'm Christopher Knox.
Today we got our second guest.
Second guest. First female guest.
First guest under 30.
First guest under 30. So we're
Pretty
excited.
interesting little playlist we're going to get into today, it looks like.
Yeah. And her name is
Cassidy.
Cassidy. Welcome. Welcome to the Blanc Box.
Wow, thank you guys.
So, Cassidy, what do you do here?
That's a very good question. What would your answer be, Corey?
A little bit
I
of
would
everything.
say mostly marketing, some social media, not as much as I probably should.
Deal with my bullshit a lot.
Yeah.
General business operations. That's kind of my description.
Everything behind the scenes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
all the-
Behind the scenes.
Creating all the goods and making the world see us. Helping
Yeah.
the world see who we are.
See us in the way that we would like them to.
Yeah. Making us look slightly less goofballish, which is nice.
Until we go on video with these podcasts. And then they're like, oh, they are goofballs.
Yes.
That's our own problem.
Well,
It's not your fault. This is our own doing, at least.
yeah. Hopefully that, clears up the idea that we are a 5,000 person operation, factory pressing pans.
Yeah,
Seems to be the misconception.
it is.
So I try to post, I'm like, no, there's actually 11. It fluctuates at roughly 11 people.
Yeah, so this is the 10 plus 1. So what we're doing is we're going around and interviewing everybody that works here. And they're going to tell us their life story through songs of their life.
Biography through music.
That's right. If I say biography one more time,
there we go.
I'm done. Like now I'm thinking about it. So, and also, so if you're listening on Spotify, if you have Spotify Premium, you can hear the whole song. But if you just have the free Spotify, it only plays 30-second snippets. And
We do have the complete playlist on our Blanc Creatives profile on Spotify, so you can have just the songs. And
Yeah.
if you look on YouTube, on the Blanc Creatives YouTube channel, you can get the video of just the conversation without the songs.
Right.
But under there, it has all of the links to everything else.
right. And also there'll be a playlist of like extended playlists. So like I have like a list of like other songs that I mentioned, but we didn't necessarily play.
Should I just add the 1,000 songs I've liked over the
You can add
past
as many
7
you
years?
want.
There you go, if you want to.
Yeah, that'd be fine too.
Although I don't think people need to see that deeply into me. I wouldn't want to share that much information about myself.
Yeah. Didn't realize
Some of that's quite embarrassing.
I would imagine that's all right. We all have our embarrassing.
I call them like my junk food songs.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
Give me a for instance.
Yeah, what's a good junk food song?
Oh, anything by Flo Rida.
Oh, that is 100%
okay.
junk food.
Yep.
That is right.
Are you drinking like a Mickey's Grenade? Something.
I don't even know what that is.
It's mostly for exercising purposes, honestly, just because you got to have the beat.
Yeah.
You don't want to think too much about it. Junk food song.
I don't know if it's Flo Rida or Pitbull or a combination of either, but one of the WrestleManias years ago, they had this song like, give me the green light. Like it would get stuck in my head all the time. Like every time I'm at a green light. And it's like,
Give me the green
this stupid Flo Rida song from WrestleMania 2018 is like constantly stuck in my head.
That was his core year, I believe. Right before COVID hit, he was
Yeah.
doing great. I feel like Pitbull kind of fell off the map.
Yeah.
But anyway, that was a tangent.
That's your generation.
Yeah, I don't know much about. Like I was at a parade in Brooklyn once, and I was pretty sure Pitbull was standing next to me eating a hot dog. but it was Brooklyn. There's a lot of dudes that look like Pitbull.
That's very
So I'm
true.
not sure. And I kept looking at him, and I was like, I think that's Pitbull. And Sheila was like, why would he be at this
She's
little
also
parade?
like, I don't know what
Yeah, she's
Pitbull looks
why,
like.
Why would it matter? All right. So I'm assuming Pitbull is not the first song you heard.
He's not. I don't even know
What?
when he started playing music.
No.
And
I
this-
have no idea.
This song isn't necessarily the first song I heard.
This is one that you like.
Yes, that like stuck in my subconscious.
Right.
Also, it was the one that I said I was going to put first, so then I felt pressured to put it first.
What do you mean? Who did you tell you?
It's
were
your
gonna play
life.
first?
It's your songs.
You
Your
can play
history.
whatever you want.
I mean, it's a great song. So
So what about this song? Like, where do you remember it from? Where?
I'm pretty sure my mom has several home movies of me dancing to this song. Yeah. In fact, I know that. Well, she did record the first 10 years of my life on video. So
Can we get some of those to put into the YouTube as like takeout?
Yeah.
if I can find them.
Right.
I think she did digitize like all of them at one point. It was like her Christmas present.
Oh, so this was on like VHS tapes?
Oh, yeah. Mom, we had walls of VHS tapes. Haley got lucky because by the time she was born, and Haley's my sister, she also works here. My mom had kind of given up on that. But unfortunately, for the first years of my life, it was every moment was recorded.
Yeah.
The good, the bad, and the
fortunate,
ugly.
I mean, that's
Yeah,
how
that's-
you
that's
like
pretty
your
awesome
age
you
and
got
younger.
that.
That's like
I guess it's
I don't have
awesome,
anything from my.
But it's
childhood.
also weird because, okay, I'm going to get on so many tangents in this podcast, but it kind of reminds me of like my cats, how they were born with personalities, you know, and like people say nature or nurture, obviously. Nurture plays a huge part in it, but it's crazy how much of it is just in your nature. And so like when I watch myself and I'm 5 and I'm doing the same shit I'm doing now,
yeah,
like bossing people around, being sassy,
being sassy.
it's like that
that
was
same,
born
like-
into me.
Yeah,
That
That's
same scowl on your
wild.
face.
Yeah.
yeah. I've seen some video of Sheila as a child. Just this little blonde-haired child just being bossy.
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, there it is. I like it.
Born with it.
Yeah.
But anyway, yeah, so there's a song of me and I'm pretty sure a pink tutu dancing to this before. Well, my mom used to say several years later, she's like, I was very happy you did not understand the lyrics and we let you dance to it, even though it was maybe a little weird because you were 5. But
It's all right. When you're that age, it doesn't matter.
so this song is the first song that I remember hearing, but also maybe it's the first song that I think I heard because it's one of the earliest ones in the videos.
Okay. That makes sense.
Yeah.
So what is it?
Oh, Christina Aguilera, Genie in a Bottle.
Genie in a Bottle, Christina Aguilera.
Yes.
All right, let's hit it.
Said it.
All right, Genie in a Bottle.
Genie in a Bottle.
All right, so little tutu, I'm picturing it, dancing
Yes.
around. Very cool. I was saying earlier, my whole life I thought that was Britney Spears. Well, not my whole life, since 1999. I thought that was Britney Spears. I never knew that it wasn't. I mean, I know Christina Aguilera is a different person, but for some reason I thought that was
I will say that's one of her more Britney sounding songs,
Okay.
in my opinion.
Yeah, 99 was kind of the end of like good pop music in
Yes.
my opinion.
Except for,
Like 2000
yes.
There's like hits or there's more.
Well, now
but
there's
like,
just so much music.
yeah, and
It's
now
like, how
it's
the hell do you find anything
That was
decent?
the start of like American Idol, like that
Yeah.
late 90s.
yeah.
Oh, that was good American Idol
Yeah.
when it started.
Yeah, like 99, you had like Britney Spears, Spice Girls was still hot. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
There was like good stuff. Like I hated it, but like it was like, but like past post 2000, post 9/11, really,
Yeah.
everything just kind of fell apart. And now I don't know. It feels like it's like AI generated almost the pop music.
Yeah.
Like it's weird.
It's not, it's in the junk food list
Yeah.
now, a lot of it.
Yeah.
There's some good pop stars like Carly Rae Jepsen.
Yeah, I guess.
There are others. It's not. It's also, it's like so cross category now. I feel like it's so hard to say like that's pop, that's rock, that's house, because it's all,
Yeah.
Yeah, because like country music's like pop music.
yeah,
and
there's like
almost
pop
rap
country,
music. Yeah,
there's
yeah.
like,
Yeah. Modern country is definitely just like hip hop,
yeah.
like just with like a twang.
Yeah, no, I
weird.
know. But then, you know, I don't know. There's like the Sturgill Simpsons of the world who, you know, he's a great country artist, but he's also like a rock artist.
No, I'd say it's country.
Yes. I will say the one song that I chose of his is actually on his rock album.
Oh, he has a rock album.
Yeah.
All right.
He did it for an anime.
Oh, really?
Yeah. He did an entire album. I think it was an anime movie that he did the music for.
Okay.
Which I still haven't seen. I've been meaning to watch it because it sounds cool as fuck.
What's it called?
I don't know. But I just know that the song that I chose was for the album for the show because he did some sort of like, what do you call it? Fundraiser. It was like a fundraising concert.
Mm-hmm.
And he played that entire album because he had just released it. And that's the one that I went to.
All right. I'll check that out.
Yeah.
But that's not your next song, I'm assuming.
No, it's not my next song.
What is your next song?
It is You're Gonna Go Far Kid by The Offspring, if I'm correct.
The Offspring, huh?
Yes. So the backstory to this is I was raised pretty religiously. So this music was not allowed. So I had a secret file and on my iPad with, or iPod, not iPad. Who am I kidding? It was the early 2000s with all of my like punk rock music, which I listened to religiously in high school.
All right,
so we've skipped now from like elementary to high because like who wants to talk about middle school?
Oh, I talked a lot about middle school.
Did you?
That's all right. Yeah, I mean different.
My memories
strokes.
of middle school are thankfully pretty blurry. So
where did you grow up? Did you grow up out here? Or?
yeah, I grew up about an hour south of here, or not south. Sorry, east. I always picture the mountains being north, but they're not.
Yeah.
They're west.
So an hour east of here.
Yeah.
Okay.
In Hanover.
Did you live out here like your whole life for the most part, or?
Yeah, we lived in one house for my entire childhood.
Okay.
In Montpelier,
All right.
but not the Montpelier that's in the mountains. There's a Montpelier that's also in Hanover. So very confusing. But it's pretty close to Richmond. It's like between Richmond and here, but it was pretty rural for the most part. Like we always had like 3+ acres. So, you know.
So how did you get into Offspring and the secret punk file? Like who got you into that?
God, who did get me into it? It must have been one of the, so I went to it was like your elementary school. There were like 5 elementary schools. They all fed into one middle school and the middle school fed into one high school. So everyone knew each other.
Right.
And knew each other for their entire lives. So there was like this little group that I existed within of the gifted and talented. You know, remember those? So there was like 20 of us who were in the same classes. And they were pretty much like it was a forced friend group to some extent because like who else are you gonna be friends with? Like
and you were in that same group.
Yeah, so I refer to them as like the boys and the girls of the group. So it must have been one of the boys that introduced me because they were, you know, a little edgier at the time. And I think I was actually introduced in middle school.
And what else was in this secret file?
Papa Roach, The Offspring. What other punk?
I mean, of that era, I don't know, like Pennywise and
No, more like
Godsmack.
yeah. Because what year is this?
This is like
Mid-90s,
2009.
What?
Oh,
2010.
Lord.
Mid 90s. Corey was born in
I'm thinking of my high school.
1994.
Okay. We are 10 years apart.
2009.
Yeah.
All right.
I should know this. Like I can think of all the songs, but Fall Out Boy, My Chemical Romance.
Yeah.
Okay.
So it's like
that
Yeah.
a mix of
It's like
punk,
pop,
metal, pop punk, yeah, emo,
rock.
all kind of.
just like really like what's the correct term? Like blasphemous music to some extent.
Blasphemous.
Yeah. I mean, you kept it in the secret file for a reason.
Exactly. All the words I wasn't supposed to say and all the concepts I wasn't supposed to think about.
Yeah.
So what did your parents approve of music-wise?
I'm going to get myself in trouble.
Christina Aguilera, obviously.
Oh, we only listened to Christian music until I was like 16.
Oh, really? That was all that was in the house?
Like Toby Mac. Yeah, pretty much. Yeah.
Okay.
And country. I would say some country was allowed there, but the beginning, a little stricter.
Yeah. And
Things relaxed towards the end.
you're the oldest, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
So they
It's
were
always
really
harder on you. The oldest one usually.
But I was like a very good child, so I just kind of followed most rules. And then when I didn't, I was just good at hiding it, you know?
Yeah.
So,
I mean, that's what you learn.
yeah. I'm not trying to cause conflict. I'm just trying to enjoy my music.
I think you and me are very similar. I'm like, all right, I'll just listen to it in a different way.
Exactly. In secret. That's
we
fine.
get into some blasphemous secret music files.
Yes, let's do it.
Yeah.
All right.
Offspring.
You're going to go far, kid.
Let's do it.
Song's great.
All right.
All right. Offspring. You're going to go far, kid. That was good. I don't
Every
think I've
time
heard that song specifically before,
Yeah.
but yeah, I get it.
Every time I listen to it, I'm like, that's far more disturbing than I remember it. I just remember it being fun.
Yeah, I mean, it's
And
a
I
fun
mean,
song.
I still listen to it. Like, it's on my workout playlist.
Oh, yeah.
Because, I mean, can't beat that. It's like
Yeah.
great tempo,
Yeah, it's very
high
driving.
energy.
It's very like, yeah, I could see some kids skateboarding or jumping on a trampoline to it or whatever they're doing these days.
They still skateboard.
I don't know. I don't see them.
I don't know, the Charlottesville skate park. I like drive past it.
It's always
There's
packed.
just like
That's cool.
smoking cigarettes, tattoos, hanging out, skating.
Yeah.
Still happens.
That's cool. All right. So what do we got next? What's going on?
We are taking a hard right turn
From Offspring.
from the Offspring to Sarah Evans,
All right.
which could not be farther from the Offspring.
So what about this Sarah Evans? Like, where are you in life when you
Where
heard
I'm in
this?
life. Okay, so we're talking later high school, but I mean, I heard this song my whole life. My mom, I think it was her favorite artist was Sarah Evans, and we had a CD, and she just constantly played that CD because you know how the radio was back then, unreliable. Yeah, so we'd play it all the time, and then I think it kind of like crept back into my subconscious the older I got, and when I got very like itchy to get out of my little rural town. Yeah, that's really the backstory of this one. I was just ready to leave,
Right.
and I had this like, I don't know if it wasn't a misconception, but the idea that if you stay, you're just gonna wither away into nothingness. If you stay in your small town, who are you? What are you doing?
Yeah, I think
You
everybody's
must
got to go.
escape. Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Definitely got to
Spread
go.
your wings.
Yeah.
Gotcha.
Even if you come back, it's
Born
cool,
to
but you
fly.
gotta- So that's the name of this song,
Born
to
to
Fly?
fly. Yes.
All right. So this is late high school. You're starting to feel the itch to get out of here.
Yes, and I went so far, all of an hour away. But yeah.
But that's all right.
I mean, an hour away. It's an hour away.
It was college, so
Yeah.
it was vastly different from my upbringing.
yeah, an hour away is the minimum, but that's still solidly good
Yeah.
to get away.
Well, thanks, guys.
I believe in you. All right. So let's play this. What's it called again?
Born to fly.
Born to Fly. All right. That was good. I had never heard it before, but I enjoyed it.
She's
It
got
was
the voice of an angel.
Yeah, she's got a great
Pretty sure.
voice. It wasn't like offensively lame, you know. It was
No,
like it
it's
was cool.
moderately lame.
Yeah.
I can
but it
see
was
like
still-
driving through the country, windows down in the summer,
Oh, it's
like
Yeah.
you know the hay fields just like blowing in the wind.
Just
You've
my
been to
hair in the
Hanover.
breeze.
Not
never
really.
been to Hanover?
What is Hanover?
Maybe pass through at some point.
I mean, it's like, okay, so Albemarle,
Mm-hmm.
and then Louisa, and then Hanover.
Okay.
It's like the country part before Richmond. On
Exactly.
64.
Yeah,
I know
they've
what
like
you're talking
intentionally kept it country.
about. Yeah.
But it's beautiful because it's like,
Is that where the river? Does the James go through that part?
yeah,
Yeah.
it's just very like rolly, hilly,
Mhm.
green, lots of farms.
Yeah, I've driven through there.
Yeah.
I've never gone there to like hang out.
So, yes, to your point, that is what we did. Listen to Sarah Evans with the windows down.
Yeah, I was saying during the thing that it's like, it's funny that like your actual rebellious moment was like one of your mom's favorite songs. It's kind of like different, you know what I mean? Like my mom like Wilson Phillips and stuff, and I hated it, but you know, but now I hear it and I'm like, oh, I know what she was talking about now.
Right,
You
yeah.
know? It's funny. So where are you at now? So you were still in high school. This is when you're first getting the itch to leave.
Yeah.
And what's your next step from there?
Then I left.
This song got to you.
Yeah, well, I had been planning to leave, but finally actually did it.
And where'd you go?
Charlottesville. University of Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah.
Cool. What was
Dream
that like?
school. Weird.
Weird.
I don't know. Some people have a great time in college. I had a weird time in college. I think it just all depends about where you're coming from and whether you're like ready for it. I was not ready.
Were a lot of students there local, or was it a lot of like out of town students?
A lot of students are not local. They're local to
States,
Virginia.
like states.
Yeah. So Virginia State schools have this thing where it's like 60% has to be from Virginia.
Okay.
Yeah, to keep their public funding, essentially. So majority of them were Virginia. Most of them from Northern Virginia, which is like practically not Virginia.
Yeah, no,
DC.
it's very different.
A lot from Virginia Beach. Not as many from like smaller enclaves, like
Right.
the Hanover world.
Gotcha.
Like I think we only sent 5 people from my high school,
Okay.
which is like, you know, a decent amount, but it was a small school.
Yeah.
Um,
What were you getting into in college? Was it a big, like you being on your own? Like, how did you feel about it? Were you like confident going in?
oh
Were you
no,
nervous?
I had no confidence.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, I was not prepared at all.
Oh, really?
Oh my God. I get like sweaty just thinking about it.
You went straight from high school. You do a gap year or anything?
No,
You
that
just
would have
went
been
straight?
brilliant.
Yeah.
But unfortunately, I was ready to go. So straight to the dorms, snuck my car in. I was the one with the car because you're not supposed to have them like on grounds your first year. And I happened to be in a building that had like a side road behind it. So we just like illegally kept the car there. And it would
Don't
take,
you
like,
have to live on campus first
Yeah,
year?
your first year. But only your first year. Some schools are like 2, but UVA is just 1. Because they have a shorting in Housage. So they're like, yeah, good luck. Go pay $1,500 in Charlottesville
goodness
for a
gracious.
crappy apartment.
So
yeah.
with your next song, like how did this get into your life? Like, what were you up to?
This is actually, so I was, like I was talking about before we went off air. The majority of like our party songs were so terrible back then that I just like couldn't bring myself to include any of them. Just like really bad hip hop, pop. That was unfortunately like the 2012 to 16 era I was in was just really bad. So I do think that this is one of the better, more lighthearted songs. Also, it kind of like, it touches on the whole just when you go to college and you have no set agenda, you're just kind of like, I'll just go wherever it takes me. Let the wind take me. Like, so that's sort of this song,
Okay.
which is Shut Up and Dance by who again? I just
Walk the Moon.
Walk the Moon. Yep.
Walk the Moon.
Yeah.
All right, let's do it.
All right.
Oof. That was
All
something.
right.
And Christopher's
We had-
new favorite song.
There were divisive opinions in the room.
Who was that again? I forget already.
Walk the Moon.
Walk the Moon.
I don't even know if they did anything else. I'm sure they did, but
Yeah. Like, I feel like that's a song that's played like during like Jersey Shore or like an MTV show, like in the background, like the challenge or something, like when they're having like an overhead shot,
yeah.
you know,
Probably.
it's like that type of, yeah, I don't even know what that type is called, but it's definitely a genre of that like bouncy
Party pop.
Yeah. Party pop.
It's not that bad.
No, it's not. I'm just playing.
No, but it's not good. I understand what you're saying.
It's all good.
So now
So
we're done
now
with
you're in
college.
college.
So
So-
now we're done with
Oh, you're done-
college.
so it was just that was all
That was
college.
it.
That
was it.
summarized your
That's
entire
so
4
good.
years.
I do have a question though, just because
Okay.
you're so much younger than us. Like, was music like a big part of your life? Like, were you like searching out stuff? Were you buying songs? Like,
No.
You weren't buying CDs, right?
So music has been a big part of my life at different stages in my life.
Mm-hmm.
So in high school, it was very important. I was listening to a lot of punk rock at that time,
Okay.
and I got into some like house music. And then when I hit college, it became a little bit less important, just because it was more about social interactions and figuring myself out and
Yeah.
blah blah blah. And then it became important later in life again.
Like, were you going to shows in college and whatnot?
Not really.
Not really.
No. It wasn't until I met my boyfriend that I met in New York that I got like really back into the music scene
Okay.
because he was really into it.
Okay.
And then I was like, oh, I forgot about this.
Yeah.
This is great.
Is this where we're at now? Or you
No.
Okay, where are we at now?
First
we'll get
boyfriend.
we'll get to New York.
Now, okay, this is going to be the tale of boyfriends now. But
Tale of woes.
the tale of woes. I decided to get in a relationship with a British man in my last semester of college before graduating.
Mm-hmm.
So
How'd you meet this British man?
he was in my major
Okay.
at UVA. One of them, I had 2, neither of which I use at all. Environmental science, and then a degree in sustainability.
All right.
Yeah. Anywho, now I do marketing and social media. But yeah, so he was in one of my courses and really got along. And then, I don't know, we just like decided to make a go for it.
Mm-hmm.
So he moved back to London and I moved to New York because it was the easiest way to fly to London.
Gotcha.
Ah.
All right.
And that's why I moved to New York.
Interesting. All right.
Didn't have a job, didn't have an agenda, like no idea what I was going to do.
Mm-hmm.
And at that point I was like, You know, it's so funny because I like think back to this point in my life and I'm like, it could have gone one of two ways. I had a job offer to go do like environmental research in Peru. And then I had this boyfriend in London and I was like, you know what? Let's do that.
Yeah. I mean,
That's going to be the one that lasts.
All made that choice. And how old are you at this point?
21.
21.
Yeah, all of those decisions got you here right now.
Yeah.
My life has gone very weird branches of direction.
Yeah.
To be clear. But yeah, so I moved to New York.
And where are you living in New York?
My first apartment was in Gramercy.
Gramercy, all right.
I paid $1,250 for a room that could fit a twin bed with 3 other girls. It was a nightmare.
You guys were each paying 12.
Yeah.
Right. Yeah. That sounds about right for Gramercy.
It was tiny.
What made you move to Gramercy as opposed to Brooklyn or somewhere else?
I didn't really have a concept of New York at the time.
Yeah,
and because I like wasn't moving there to move there, I didn't do like, I wasn't like that excited. I didn't do like all that research. I was just like, oh.
It was like a ways to a means of getting
I was
to
like, I
London.
Googled it and everyone's like, Gramercy's a nice neighborhood.
Gotcha.
Which it is. But it's not like, that's kind of a, I don't know. That's a weird way to put it. Like it's a nice neighborhood. It's an overpriced, boring neighborhood. That's
boring.
what it is.
Yeah, there's not a lot.
But I see why. Like it had like good safety ratings. So my parents were like, "Oh yeah, that's fine. Move there." And it was an interesting introduction into New York. Like I did live above a pizzeria, so that was amazing. Like
That's cool.
It was a great pizzeria too. Like people who didn't even know where I lived knew that place, so would constantly be going. It was just Gramercy Pizza.
Oh yeah, I've been there.
Yeah, it's like one of the shitty pizza places, but it happens to be
that's
one of the good ones.
Yeah, I had a friend that lived over there, and
I literally lived above it.
that's awesome.
And so like I would give the dude my keys when I like needed a friend to pick him up. Like, he's seen me in every state of mind. God bless him. They stayed open till 3 a.m. Like, whew,
Yeah.
maybe 4. They were always open. It was like practically 24/7.
Yeah, I have many a bodega friend that has saved my life throughout the years being up there.
But anyways.
So what are you listening to here? So you just got to
So this is British boyfriend phase.
Gotcha.
And I was flying back and forth to London all the time. So went to a lot of Europe at this time as well. Like, so right past graduation, we did a whole Europe tour. Like he and I did like 12 countries.
Oh, nice.
In like 3 months, I think it was 2 or 3 months. And then I moved to New York. But then I was like flying back and forth and we were constantly going to random European countries. It was very like,
Yeah.
that will never happen again. That was a very specific period of time.
It's a good early 20s thing.
Yeah, for
and
sure.
my
that's the time to do that.
And my parents were kind of encouraging it, and now I get it because they're like, this will never happen again.
Yeah.
You will never find someone.
Is he older than you?
No, but he was very rich.
Gotcha. Okay.
So my parents like, you'll never find someone who's gonna like jet set you around to random countries as a girl from Hanover. So take it.
Yeah.
So I took it.
Yeah, on paper you should have gone to Peru, but this is also a very cool life to live.
It gave me a lot more perspective.
Yeah.
It gave me an introduction into like different societies,
cultures.
Yes. And also how this is when I also came to the conclusion that like being very wealthy didn't really matter to me.
Right.
Because I saw it very closely and I was like, well, this is all just the same, just more money. Like it's the same exact shit.
Yeah.
With more money
Your
and
life
then
isn't
actually
better.
more problems because of more money.
Yeah.
And like more rules. So
Yeah. So Mo Money, Mo Problems is your next song.
yes, it is. No. So this is Rufus Du Sol. Which song is this?
Like an Animal.
Like an Animal, yeah. And that is paying tribute to my boyfriend at the time is really into like house music. And so he started getting me into house music. We went to a lot of house music concerts in London. So that was pretty sick. I'm not going to lie. And so, yeah, this is when I first started listening to Rufus Du Sol. Which
Let's
do it.
They're still great. So
Let's run it.
no complaints.
Yeah, that was good. I like that. Rufus Du Sol.
Better than Shut Up and Dance.
That was way better. That was by far better. I could listen to that just fine. Yeah, that's cool. So, first you were going to a lot of shows in London and whatnot, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, mostly electronic stuff.
Yeah, for the most part. DJs,
It's a
house
good
music.
place for it.
Yeah, it was. It
They
was
do
really
it very
cool.
well over there.
Yeah.
Um,
So now I'm in New York.
Yeah. So are you still with this dude?
We're transitioning out of that.
Okay.
I was with him, I think, for like 2.5 years. So we did the long distance thing for like a pretty decent time. But like, how
2.5
long
years
can
is
you
a long time.
fly back and forth to London? Like, it was getting a lot, and I was getting older, and just like, okay,
Yeah.
maybe there's someone in the city of 23 million people that I can find.
Yeah.
I don't know.
Maybe.
Maybe.
I mean, if there isn't, but
So then
you
what did
are the
I
pro.
do?
What'd you
I
do?
dated someone from UVA, which is in fact the only group of people I've ever dated.
Really?
Only dated kids from UVA.
Wow.
But you found him in New York?
Yes.
All right.
That's random. Where'd you find this person?
Well, through a friend. So I guess it's like
okay.
how it happens, right? Like
Gotcha.
I knew someone who introduced me to him, and then, yeah.
Gotcha. I thought you
Then
just
we're
met
still
him
in the
randomly at a
UVA
bar, like,
circle.
you went to UVA? I went to UVA.
Which is actually very possible because it's crazy how
Well,
when
UVA has a really big, UVA in Charlottesville in general has a big New York.
New York, huge. Yeah. There's so many kids from UVA in New York. Like it is.
I mean,
It's
there
a
used
lot.
to be a bus that went just from Charlottesville to New York.
Yeah. That
Like
doesn't
3 times a
surprise
week.
me. Yeah.
Yeah.
But it was one of those things where that was also like an interesting, almost like sociological study that if you went to UVA and you were in a certain career or if you were in a certain like mainstream 9-to-5 career, you would inevitably end up at the same bars and the same clubs and the same whatever. Like
Gotcha.
somehow we all are just on the same wavelength because we've been doing the same shit. Like, you know, like even though we're all very vastly different people, it just seemed as if you would run into the same individuals like over and over, no matter where you were in such a big city.
Yeah.
But this is also during my Manhattan time, so I was a little bit more insulated. When I got out into Brooklyn, it was like, okay, the world's bigger.
Yeah.
New York's bigger than the same 5 bars in Midtown.
Yeah. I feel Brooklyn kind of forces you to travel more.
Yeah.
Like Manhattan, like you can find, just whatever in your neighborhood. Like when I lived in Manhattan, I just stayed in my neighborhood. Really.
Yeah. Why would you
Didn't
leave?
really-
You have everything, grocery store, but
Yeah.
but yeah, so I was living in Gramercy, and then I was like, this is too expensive.
Mhm.
And I also hate Manhattan. So I moved to the last stop on the L train.
Oh,
Yeah, I really went.
what was that? Like
Full
Ridgewood?
on.
It's, oh my God, I'm blanking. It's in Bushwick, all the way to the cemetery.
Yeah. I don't even know if that's
Frick.
Bushwick anymore.
No, it is. So Bushwick hits the cemetery, and then it's Brownsville. Ooh.
Okay.
Um,
Honestly, I lived out there 20 years, and I don't think I ever went to the last stop on the L train. Like ever.
it's crazy I can't remember this.
Yeah.
I'll tell you why I can't remember it, is because it's when they started doing the construction on the L train. So I could barely take it anyway.
Goes to Rockaway. Rockaway Parkway?
That's not the,
I don't know. We don't have to look it up. It doesn't matter.
it does matter.
Yeah, L train goes from 8th Avenue to Rockaway Parkway.
Oh, well, because it splits. But,
Yeah.
okay, sorry, the last stop, did
Oh,
it always
there.
go to Rockaway?
I don't remember.
I thought my stop was the last stop for like,
well,
a
if they
long
were doing
time.
construction, maybe it was because they were doing construction on it for years.
yeah, I guess. That's crazy. It was, sorry, I'm about to pull it up. Oh my gosh. This is always the problem with the New York subway maps. Like, you think you have it on images, and then it makes you go to like 19 different websites.
Yeah.
Wilson.
Oh, yeah. That's not
Right?
that far out.
Yeah.
Wilson's before Bushwick.
No, then it wasn't that.
All right, so the next 10 minutes of the podcast, we can discuss the L train.
Yeah.
Whatever. I think it was that. I don't know. Whatever. It was the last stop on the L train
At the time.
at the time.
Gotcha.
Or maybe it wasn't even the last stop. Whatever. It was the
were
last
out
stop in Bushwick
It's far out.
before you got to Queens. Yes, and it was Wilson. It definitely was Wilson now that I'm thinking about it.
All right.
So anyways, yeah, I moved out there, and then that was my first introduction to Brooklyn. And it was fine. We had some run-ins. It was,
Did you move in with people you knew?
no, I moved in with more strangers,
Okay.
and that's a whole nother story.
You always meet, were you always meeting your roommates like on Craigslist or?
Yeah. I decided I didn't want to live with UVA people, so I was trying to meet other people, and the only way to do that was I think it was Facebook groups was the
Yeah.
easiest.
It's odd how often that actually works out, though. Like, there are tons of nightmare scenarios, but like most times it's like, It was fine.
I will say
Some
my
people
first
become
2
really
times
good
were
friends.
nightmare scenarios.
Really?
Yeah.
It might be different for a girl. than
Girls are
for
tough.
me.
Yeah. The second batch, I'm still really good friends with one of the girls, but the other girl ended up like physically attacking her. It was this whole thing.
Ooh. That's another series we're getting into. Friday Night Fights. That'll be our next series.
So I was there, but I mostly stayed because I had at this point started dating someone new, and I was mostly at his apartment because I was like, this is too much for me.
Where did he live?
He lived in Lower East Side,
Okay.
right next to the Williamsburg Bridge.
Oh, okay, deep, like Delancey.
Yes, on Delancey.
Okay.
Yeah. So it was so freaking loud. That apartment was so loud. The trucks constantly.
Yeah. The train.
He was like, what do you mean? What sound? I'm like, the deafening sound that is 24/7 because your window is on Delancey.
Yeah, that's wild.
But
So where are we at musically?
okay, so I'm
'Cause
wrapping up the rest of New York in one song.
Because what kind of music was he into?
Or maybe there's 2 more songs in New York. He was the one who was like really into music.
Mm-hmm.
So he like had record collections, which I know is not that crazy, but I don't know, like this kid committed like 4 to 5 hours a day to listening to music and like curating his lists and was like obsessed with it.
Did he DJ or anything, or this is just what he did?
No, but we actually did move. So he moved in at this time with this kid who was an A&R for RCA. So it was like signing people. So then it became even more about music because we were just listening to people's thousands of demos that they were sending him. And it was just constant. Like we'd stay up till 2 a.m. like every night listening to demos of random hip hop artists because he was in like the hip hop genre. But because this boyfriend was so into music, I started getting more into it. And we started going to a lot of live shows in Brooklyn. So this next song was my favorite live show that we went to in Brooklyn, which was a fundraiser for like firefighters or something by Sturgill Simpson, and it was at the Music Hall of Williamsburg.
Yeah.
So it was only like 50 people, and it was Sturgill Simpson, and we were in the front row, and he was sweating on us and
That's awesome.
rocking, and it was so much fun. And then like halfway through the set, they opened up the doors, and it was just like flooded out into the streets, like hundreds of people. And they like blasted it onto the street. So
it was a fundraiser, so people like it was a high ticket.
Yeah.
To get in.
Yeah.
And then they just went free to the masses.
Yes.
Okay,
Yeah.
I see what you're saying.
Yeah.
Because I was like, even that, it's 50 people seems like very little, but I understand now.
50 is probably, it was probably like 100. I don't know. But it felt like really small and intimate.
Yeah.
And then all of a
That's
sudden,
not
like the
a
doors.
tiny venue.
Yeah. But they didn't, they cut the ticket number really small and it was really expensive because it was this fundraiser thing.
I gotcha.
And they like just happened to like blast an email out, and he just happened to be on his email and open it and like get the tickets because like it sold out immediately, like within 30 seconds.
Right. That's awesome.
So
all right. So we already talked about this Sturgill Simpson song. You did it with anime.
yes, this was like the album that accompanied an anime movie, I believe. And I cannot remember what the anime movie was. But it's like a little bit of a deviation from his country stuff. It's more rock.
Okay.
Yeah.
I've heard a lot of his country stuff, but I haven't heard his rock stuff. So I'm very excited to hear this.
And Corey, what's the name of the song?
Last Man Standing.
There you go.
Last Man Standing. Okay. Sturgill Simpson. Let's do it. Not ready. And we're back.
We're back.
Sorry, I was goofing
Gonna
around.
go take a smoke break, but
that's all right.
alas.
Yeah, so that was great. That was good. So I haven't heard his rock stuff before, but yeah, you were right.
Yeah.
That's definitely rock.
I can see live.
Yeah.
Like,
live, fantastic.
Especially because it's not something that he normally does. So like to kick into something like that. Like,
Yeah.
Oh, this is rad.
Yeah. Well, so now we're moving on in my New York career. And the last New York song is just instrumental, so it's not that exciting. But it's a Deer Hunter song, and it's called Greenpoint something. Gothic. And so I was like, perfect, because that was my last residence, Greenpoint. Right. After Bushwick, I decided let's move back a little closer.
Yeah. So, Greenpoint's nice.
Greenpoint is wonderful. Yeah. Like, it is a truly wonderful place to live. Out of all the places I lived in New York, it was my favorite. It is getting way more, gentrified, obviously, like everywhere in Brooklyn, and it is gentrified. But because there's not a train stop off of the L, like, it keeps it a little bit less
Yeah.
attractive, I guess.
Yeah.
So because you have to walk, or you've got to take another train, and it does add like an additional step into someone's commute per se. So
and the G used to be such a nightmare. I don't know what it was like.
oh,
when
it's
you
still
lived there,
an enormous nightmare. Every time it rained,
we used to call it the ghost train because it was just may show up, it may not.
it flooded.
Yeah.
People were constantly like punching people in the face over there. It was like, oh, the G train was a nightmare.
Yeah,
but
we're being stuck at Nassau for like 2 hours.
Yep.
Just sitting there.
yeah, and then they introduced the ferry, which was cool until they built it on a privately owned ferry dock. So
you had to pay to get onto the dock?
no, but that just means every time anything went wrong, like anything needed to be fixed, it was owned by a private entity, and so they weren't under no pressure publicly to like fix it quickly. So it's like constantly not available.
Sounds like
It's a nightmare, but yeah. So moved to Greenpoint, lived in this sick building. It was like the pencil factory, one of the many pencil factories. There's 2 pencil factories. There's the pencil factory that's the bar, which is a great bar.
Been there many
Love
times.
it. We went there all the time. I lived like 1 block up.
Okay.
But it was
first train for podcasts, and this is the first train that is hit.
it's also the second train today that we've
but
had.
most time we hit it in a break.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. We'll see how this turns out.
I think it's a nice little.
Oh, that was a short train.
Yeah.
That was pretty good.
Some of them are, yeah. Could be
Did you
one
ever
of
hit
the.
up a Cafe Riviera when you were living in Greenpoint? A little Polish cafe on Manhattan Avenue.
Yes.
That
Yes.
place is the shit.
The Polish food in Greenpoint
So
is
good.
really good.
That bakery, we hit that bakery every time we're there.
Apparently, like, I wish I would have seen it when it was like Little Poland, because apparently it was like Little
It was
Poland.
wild.
Not so much anymore. Like
No.
definitely not anymore.
No.
Yeah, the first time I was in Greenpoint, I didn't even know it existed. I went there for a show, and it was like rainy. I was all by myself. I didn't know anybody, and I went to, and it was, I like literally like, I was like, am I in Russia? Like I thought there was some magic train or something. It was just like Polish dudes just and standing under a thing, smoking cigarettes, and I was like, what is happening? I didn't
Where
even know.
am I?
Because
Yeah, I
Kasha
mean, I
was
was-
living in Bushwick, and she was looking for like Polish books, and she's a big, always in reading, but couldn't find like Polish language books. So she found someone, and they told her like, oh, you should go to Greenpoint. There's like stuff there. So she goes, and
Yeah,
she's
it's
like,
Oh my God,
Whoa.
it's the homeland.
Yeah, that's how it used to be. It was awesome.
Yeah.
and then it just slowly crept, and then all
Yeah.
of a sudden it was like
it's
a
very
flood.
gentrified now.
Yeah,
I mean, there's
totally.
still a couple of little
Yeah.
spots. Like we'll go and get like Cafe Ribera, and we'll go to the liquor stores and get like the Polish alcohol. But
Yeah,
Primarily, yeah. But yeah, so at the time I had this like really sweet loft there. Like 15-foot ceilings, enormous windows. It was in an old pencil factory that they had converted. And I found like if you go up towards the sanitation plant, which there's like the big one for Brooklyn up there,
yeah.
they've built all these like secret parks behind there.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so you can go back there and like be by yourself. And that's huge in New York.
Yeah.
Like that is something that's very hard to find. And for me, I was getting to the point, it was just like 4th year, COVID's hitting. I just really wanted to be by myself. I was like, I'm really over the constant movement and the sound and the chaos. I was coming to the realization that it's just like too much for me. It's not what I want. I want to be elsewhere. So Greenpoint was like a sanctuary at the time because I was like, well, this is great. Got my little parks. I'm close to the water. I can find a quiet spot.
Yeah,
There were like these little breweries and it was just like things were bigger and more spread out
yeah.
and it
it's
was less
cramped. Even like the sidewalks and everything, it feels a little wider.
yes.
Between the buildings, feels like there's a little more space.
Yeah, they've kept a lot of that. So that was nice. And that was pretty much the end of my New York stint. At that point, I had a job at a research company, which I loved. But then COVID hit and they laid us all off like they did everyone. So then I was like, all right, that's it. I'm done with New York. I told my partner at the time, I was like, if I get laid off, like I'm leaving. Like then either way I'm going to leave, but especially if I get laid off. And so I got laid off and I was like, okay. So then I started like applying for what do you call it? The nonprofit work. Peace Corps, but not Peace Corps. Other Corps.
I don't know.
It's the US version of the Peace Corps. But it's only 1 year instead of 2. But it's
Greenworks or
something Corps. I can't remember. I don't know why I'm blanking on this. But essentially, it's the Peace Corps, but it's 1 year and it's in the States. So
Okay.
it's not as serious.
Right, because it's hard to get into Peace Corps.
Yeah, I mean, it was hard to get into this core, whatever it was. I thought I was like, UVA student. I did all these good jobs. Should be so easy.
Right.
I played like 19, heard back from like 1. It was
Really?
like absurd. But I was applying to the West because I was like, I really want to go West. But that's actually probably for past this song, so I'll pause. Right. But yeah, this song is the end of my New York in Greenpoint. It's an instrumental.
Greenpoint Gothic.
It's pretty chill. The ending of my New York period was pretty chill.
This is a good song for that. That'll make sense. All right.
Let's do it. Deer Hunter.
All right. That was great.
Solid jam.
Yeah.
That's a good, I can like see like driving out with all your stuff in the U-Haul or whatever, you know, like
the city's just getting smaller and smaller in the background.
Yeah. Yes. And then me going, wow, I don't miss that at all.
Yeah.
I was like, nope.
That's how I felt when I left.
Adios.
I remember when I moved to New York, I was driving my little Nissan up there, and I just kept playing the Sopranos soundtrack all over, like over and over. Like as I'm like in New Jersey, like driving, I could see it. I was just so stoked, and like the sun was going down. And then leaving, I was like, I can't get out of here fast enough.
Goodbye.
Sayonara.
Yeah. So my first exit was COVID because COVID hit. I got COVID before COVID was even a thing, like in February. And then I went down to visit my parents and I was sick and I was like, this is weird. And then literally while I was in Virginia, they announced COVID as a concept and I didn't go back for 2 months because like everything shut down.
Yeah.
And then I went back.
I think I don't even know, like for a while when they shut it down, were you even allowed to come back? Like,
yeah, you can go back. I mean, you can go back. No, I mean, not to the office, but you can go back to the city. Yeah. So I went back in March or April. And we drove through, I remember very distinctly, drove back. It was empty. We drove through Times Square. It was empty. We saw 2 people in Times Square.
Wow.
Just drove around for like an hour, just drove around because I was like, we'll never get this opportunity again where we can drive around Manhattan throughout anywhere, like with no traffic. So we were there and then we just kind of existed for a little while and then went out to Montana for a month because I wanted to see about living out west. And I had already at this point been applying to different, and I should have looked it up while we were on a break.
Different cores.
And I got accepted to one in Moab in Utah.
Okay.
And so I was like, sick.
Yeah.
But it didn't start until April of, I'm getting my timeline set. So we went to Montana. AmeriCorps. Thank you.
U.S. Corps. You know.
Yeah. Oh my God. That's so obvious. That's embarrassing.
Yeah. People are screaming, AmeriCorps.
Yeah. So we went to I went to Montana with a boyfriend at the time. Then we went to all like the state parks. Like, you know, we went to
Moab, Arches, and like all
we
that.
didn't actually go that far, but we did all the like Glacier, went to Idaho, Yellowstone, which is amazing.
Great show
so
too,
cool.
Tetons.
Great, yeah. Grand Tetons. Yeah, we did all that. We did a whole road trip. Really put some miles on my car. My poor car. I've driven that thing across the country like 4 times
the
now.
Same one now?
Yeah.
This VW?
Highly recommend the VW Tiguan. Free advertising. So we did that. And then at that point, we came back and I knew I was going to leave and I had applied and I got accepted to Moab. So we did one final road trip out to Denver, where at that point, my boyfriend / ex-boyfriend at the time was going to fly back and I was going to continue on to Moab. And
but you just broke up with him at the airport?
No.
I mean, that's interesting that you guys were like, I know this is ending. But he was like cool with it?
Yes.
Like, that's cool.
It was a weird ending, but it was like a healthy one.
Yeah,
you know, we were like,
healthy.
this is not going to work. Because he really loved New York. He wanted to stay. He had no interest in leaving. And I clearly did not want to stay. And so it was kind of like, there's no reality where this is going to continue to work.
Yeah. I mean, that's very like adult, like good way to look at it.
Yeah.
You know, like,
and for me, I had been just dating people my entire adult life at this point. So I was like, this will be good. I'll be single and try to figure out what I want to do next. Because at that point I had been working in like advertising and marketing and I wasn't sure what was next, but I knew I didn't want to go back to the corporate 9 to 5.
Yeah.
I was like, that was soul sucking. I cannot do that again. I hated it. And so I was like, we'll do the nonprofit thing and I'll work for a small business and I'll see how that goes. And so I was moving out to Utah and we listened to this album both when we went to Montana and then when we drove out. It was like one of like the saved albums we had.
So it's your head west like playlist.
Exactly. Because, you know, when you hit Wyoming, there's not a radio station for like 9 hours. It's nothing.
I've had a playlist in my head for 15 years of
Cross country playlist?
like driving through the desert at night. Like I have, and because I've never got to really do it. And I just want to like windows down. Like I have this whole plan in my head of just going.
And we'll get into the desert life after this, but so this album, like I was saying before, is just interesting because if I'm hoping I'm getting my facts correct here, but essentially this group was together. They put together an album, I think in like the late 90s, early 2000s, and it was like very successful. And then they both like got really into heroin and they like fell off the map for like 15 years. And then this is the second album. Okay. Or like the third, but it's like very few albums.
Yeah, because it went from 2000 and then 2016.
Yes.
Oh, wow.
Okay, there we go. I wasn't that far off. And so like this is the first time they had gotten back together and put together an album, and it was, in my opinion, very good. Right. And it's just this like nice ambient music for like driving and like life changes. So.
And who is it?
The Avalanches.
The Avalanches. All right.
And the song is
Interstellar Love.
Interstellar Love. Yeah.
All right.
That's what I went with.
That's it.
Let's do it. All right. That was good. The Avalanches.
The Avalanches.
Yeah, we were talking while we were listening to it, how it's very mood setting and
it's very heady.
Especially headphones.
Yeah.
I didn't even think about that of like, now everybody listens on headphones. Like when I was young, you rarely, unless you had a Walkman and they were crappy headphones. Yeah, but like now you're like
tiny circles.
Now we have Bose speakers on our faces.
Yeah,
as you see, I walk
so you can
around.
write music. I didn't even consider that, like writing music that like fades in between and like.
Yeah.
And that's.
I mean, you go back to like the Who, and you had like the quadraphonic.
Yeah, but still, it's still speakers.
Like it was
you know what I mean? You'd have to
stage.
set up your whole thing together, you know, and like what we were talking about with the speaker company out here. I can't remember it right now.
Crutchfield.
Yeah.
Crutchfield's out here?
They're in Charlottesville.
Yeah. And like Steely Dan and stuff. But that's like it's still different than it being right here. You know, it's pretty cool.
Huh.
I like it.
I've never had a chance, but I'd love to get a hold of those studio headphones, like the Sennheisers, like the $1,000, $2,000, like pro grade headphones, just to see. It's got to be mind blowing.
It's like a movie theater and a headphone.
Yeah.
That would be cool.
All right. So now you're out west.
Yes. So now I've moved to Moab, which is a town from New York to a town of 8,000 people.
Very different.
12 million visitors. Yeah. So there's that.
And plus just like Western culture.
Yeah.
Like you lived your whole life on the East Coast.
Yeah. What I will say is out of those 8,000 locals, with quotation marks, many of them were Easterners. Like a lot of them came from the East Coast.
Yeah.
I mean, there were a fair amount of people from like California. Not a lot of people from Utah because, well, Utah.
Yeah.
And Moab is considered like blasphemy to the rest of Utah.
Oh, really?
Because it's like hippie drug, outdoorsy, liberal, and then the rest of Utah is Mormonism. So it was just like did not vibe. And in fact, they did this great Netflix series about like one of the Mormon cults that like continued after they like did the whole change in the church where you couldn't be polygamous anymore.
Yeah,
but one of the big ones that existed and still exists, I'm pretty sure, is like 30 minutes from Moab. So they would like, you would see them. It was so weird. It was like, you would see them, you'd never speak to them, and you never have any interactions with them, but you would like catch them out of the corner of your eye and be like, there was this new hotel they were building and they were painting and they were all Mormon. And so then I came to realize that the owner was Mormon, so they was just hiring the locals. But it was very confusing at the beginning because it was like girls in full dresses. It's 110 degrees and they're like painting a building and you're like, huh. Oh. You know, like your brain goes with this whole, like, what's happening? But Moab is super weird.
sounds it.
Super
just
weird.
being called Moab, it's such a weird word.
It's a weird place.
Yeah.
It's a beautiful place. It's one of the most beautiful places in the world.
Utah is surprisingly beautiful.
Oh,
yeah.
Utah is stunning.
I was always an East Coast dude too, and like Utah to me never sounded like a place I wanted to go. But then when I drove through Utah, it is ridiculous.
Yeah.
It's ridiculously beautiful, and it gives you it was the first time I'd ever been in a real desert, and it was the first time that I'd ever been in a place where you could drive 40 minutes and be completely by yourself and not hear anything. Because there weren't trees, there weren't shrubs. You could just sit and it was silent.
Yeah.
And it was bizarre. To never have experienced silence before, really, and then to go out there and experience silence was like an unreal experience. And of course, the way that I witnessed it is because I'm obsessed with rocks. So I would go on these Utah has this website where you can find gemstone hotspots.
Okay.
And then you can go try to find the gemstones. And so they have these random dots in the map. And my dumb ass is driving around by myself in the middle of the desert, going to the most random side roads, going off-road in my little VW Tiguan, which is not meant for that, and trying to find gemstones and being by myself. But
What was your best haul?
actually was off of the map. It was off of the highway. It was this random, I guess people do hikes out there because there was a little parking spot, but I would have never done a hike out there because it wasn't really a spot. Because there's so many beautiful places in Utah. That would not be your spot. And then there was a riverbed or a stream bed that had dried up, and they had the geodes, the circular ones. And I still have 3 of them, but I've never cracked them open.
You never cracked them open?
No.
Oh, yeah, no.
I've always wanted to see that happen in real life. So if you ever decide, please let me be there.
I have one. Maybe I should bring it Monday.
We can cut
Yes.
it.
Yeah.
We can do a clean cut. I got
Because it's the one that I have at home is definitely one. It looks exactly like it's got the little. It's definitely one.
It's like magic. I don't understand how it works. I don't know a lot about minerals and gemstones, but
it is magic, and that's what I loved about it.
Maybe it's really just they're dragon eggs.
yeah.
Probably.
Please, can we do that?
Well,
And
I
we
also
can
have a
film that.
thought.
Be
So
awesome.
my roommate at the time there was working for a tour guide group, and he would just one time for my birthday, he brought me a piece of a dinosaur muscle,
Dinosaur
fossilized.
muscle.
Oh.
Yeah, and he was just like,
Sorry.
"Oh, I'm
I don't think that's
sorry,
what that was.
fossilized, guys, come on, that would be wild." I'm not that dumb, but he brought that was my birthday present. He's just "Oh, I found this.
That's
Here's
awesome.
a fossil. Here's a piece of a dinosaur. Would you
See,
like
this
it?"
whole time, I had no idea that you were into gemstones and minerals and whatnot.
Oh
That's
yeah,
awesome.
obsessed. My collection's absurd, and actually, it's the one thing that I'm really concerned about moving. I'm moving to Mexico. Moving to Mexico is that my mom is going to misplace my rocks.
Yeah.
Don't move, don't touch my rocks. Yeah, I've everywhere I've gone, I've handfuls stolen
That's
so
awesome.
many of national parks. No, I didn't. Maybe I did. But yeah, so Moab was really cool. It was a really good experience. It was the only time I've ever been single and alone and made my own decisions, and it was very formative, and it was all that bullshit.
And how old are you at this point?
26.
That's perfect age for that.
Yeah.
You know?
I would go on rafting trips with my friends. I would do hikes that were very much sketchy by myself. The desert is a good place I hate to find yourself, but it's a good place to be alone.
Yeah.
You can
And
be in
it's-
your head.
Yes.
Yeah.
And it's beautiful, and there's so much to do and so much to see, and it puts things in perspective when it's so hot that you feel like you're going to die 1 second, and then you turn around a corner and there's a waterfall and flowers, and it's beautiful, and it's 40 degrees cooler, and it just there's just it makes life feel more real to some extent, it just felt more, life felt more intimate at that time.
Yeah.
And gentle, and because there was always these tragedies going on there, because people would die very frequently. People die in places where it's easy to die. But because of that, you just felt more connected to life to some extent. And after my New York experience, where I felt very much the opposite of that,
Yeah.
I felt very disconnected from life,
Yeah.
because that's what New York does. It sort of brainwashes you into this mindset of nothing matters and we're invincible.
Yeah, for sure.
And this was the opposite of that. So it was a good reset. And so the next song is sort of just like me being out there, finding myself. God, that sounds so lame.
Eat, pray, love moment.
Yeah, it was my eat, pray, love moment. Okay, it was.
Hey,
Whatever.
No, that's awesome. I'm very excited to hear
that's
that.
26 is the time to do that.
Yeah. And it was a good reset. And it was just a good, like, let me figure out my priorities.
Yeah. Because I feel like you're not even really like a full human until you're like 25, 26.
Totally.
You know what I mean?
I
Like,
wasn't.
That's the beginning of
I'm
like,
still not a full human.
no, you've got a long way to go.
Yeah.
But like that's the beginning. You know what I mean? Like college, early 20s, that's still just kind of just flitting about.
Yeah. So this was good. And this song is great. It's by the Highwomen, who's like, it's like
The highway,
the Highwomen.
the high.
I went high women.
The Highwomen.
Oh, I thought you were saying the highwayman.
That's what I thought too.
And I was like, I love the highwayman.
Yeah, but then I was
No.
like, no, that's high
This is
women.
So it's
Okay.
Brandy Carlisle. Oh frick, the other girl that's a really big country star. Who's on it? Tell me.
It is Brandy Carlisle and Marin Morris.
Maren Morris.
Maren Morris.
Wow.
Amanda Shires. Natalie.
So Maren Morris is
Kennedy.
also a huge country star. And Brandy Carlisle is a huge country star.
I've heard of Brandy.
Yeah, she's super cool. Super fucking cool. Anyhow, they got together and made an album. It's fantastic. This is one of the songs.
And they named themselves after the Highwaymen.
That was
so
my
yeah,
next
it's
question.
the Highwomen.
But do you know the highwayman? I'm guessing
No.
no. Okay.
But this is Highway Unicorn. Yeah,
All right, let's do it.
let's listen.
The highwayman.
With Highway Unicorn.
That's hard to say. That was surprisingly good. Like I just never heard of it before, and I'm a huge fan of the Highwaymen.
Just like that Christopher's constantly surprised that my music is halfway decent.
No, it's just that like I'm out of the loop, and I've been out of the loop, and I'm like curious of what younger people listen to, just because I don't run across this stuff.
Yeah. Well, it's hard to find music. Weirdly,
is, because
it's
there's too much.
So much.
Yeah,
There's so much
like-
to filter
It's all
through.
up to an algorithm now. You have to
I
leave
know.
it up to the algorithm to form your taste.
What
in
I
music
will
almost.
say, well, first of all radio. Have you been on allradio.com? Fantastic. They're like, it's written by some music industry snobs, but like in the best way, as in like they don't do any pop releases. They don't do any popular releases. It's all just like what they think is good. So they like highlight all the releases, and they like have this little thing you can drop down for week by week what's good. So highly recommend them. That's how I found a lot of good music. But also I have trained my algorithm to provide me some decent
the algorithm
recommendations.
does a pretty good job.
Once it's trained, yeah.
And
But then you throw something random in there and it like skews it, and you're just like, what is this?
Yeah.
And it's just like for myself, I find like even if I find a new band, I'm like, oh, these guys are awesome. Like there's so much else to listen to, because when we were young, you just had what you had, and that was it.
Yeah.
So and you'd listen to it over and over and over and
Yeah,
over. I find a hard time unless I like buy a record of somebody. Like I feel like I play like compilations or just like put it on a genre now instead of like focusing like I used to.
Yeah. Sometimes I find myself getting pigeonholed, and I'm like, all right, I need to,
Mix it up.
because then I hear another song from another genre, and I'm like, wow, I haven't listened to that in forever. And like, that's so nice. And I've just been listening to the same stuff over and over.
Yeah. So anyway, that was
Anyway,
great.
yeah.
I'm like,
That's my highway moment when I was living on the highway by myself in Utah with a bunch of random roommates outside of town, going on hikes and canyons and finding fossils. That was like pretty
that
much
sounds awesome.
the vibe
Like,
at that time.
your life at 26 is like how I want to retire. If we could just swap
Don't
it.
recommend Moab, but I will say
I just want to live in the desert and hunt for
Castle
fossils.
Valley's cool. So
Yeah.
Castle Valley's right next to Moab.
And
but
then you pretty much left all that to come work here.
yeah, pretty much. Yeah. Well, so okay, I got to the 9-month point of working with the nonprofit, and then the last 3 months were just going to be me doing like clerical work, because so they did like outdoor excursions for kids, but it gets cold in Moab, so like they shut down until April, and so like the last 3 months were until April, and I was like, all right, well, I had gone home for the winter, and I was like, there's just really no point of me like going back to Moab at this point, so we're done, I think. And so then I was back at home in Hanover, and I was like, well, this is unacceptable. I'm in my late 20s, yes, and I love my parents. They're the best people ever, but don't want to live at home. So they had a house in Charlottesville, and they wanted to eventually sell it, or they wanted me to live in it. So those are the two options.
It's a pretty prime location.
Yeah, no, I mean, it would have been sick except for, all the things that happened, but... all
the flying bullets,
all of those shootings.
Crazy that I moved here after living in New York for 20 years, and I'm just like, what's up with Charlottesville?
like after my house got shot, and then someone got shot in the front yard.
How many times has your house been shot?
It's only been shot once, but I've called the cops 3 times, and
the bullet did go into your bedroom.
The bedroom next to mine.
Okay.
Yeah. And we've had 10 shootings. Like, it's got to be that now.
Right on your block.
On the street, yeah. Like, it's been constant. Like, we wake up all the time. Anywho, so, moved to Charlottesville, settle in for the first, so first of all, I moved to Charlottesville, and and then the only housing I could find for short term, because I knew that I needed something from, like, January to June. But I didn't want to pay for an entire lease, and all of the like half leases, like the 6-month ones, were like outrageously expensive. Mm-hmm. So then I was like looking on Facebook, trying to find somewhere to live, and I ended up living with some 3rd-year students from UVA.
There you go.
Yep, and I was in the attic of this mansion, and when I say mansion, it was like a 20-room. Okay, it's 20-room house, but like 10 bedrooms. Definitely haunted, 1000%. And we had only filled 2-3 rooms because there was like
ghosts and all the others.
And also I guess like COVID hit and they like couldn't fill it. Something happened and they couldn't fill it in their normal capacity.
This was on grounds?
No, it was like right behind.
Okay.
Where all like the frat houses are. And so I was very like, okay, I'm going to just exist in the world in the background. Like, they don't need to see me. I bought my own little kitchen set so I could have my kitchen upstairs and like I could interact very little. Of course, I become highly integrated into the drama 2 months later and become the best friend of everyone in the house because I don't know, it's impossible not to. So yes, I somehow re-sign up for UVA at this point.
That's so ridiculous.
And I'm living with these sorority girls, and they're having a great time. They're telling me their drama. They're crying to me about, UVA stuff. And it's like, but it's like a great experience, honestly. It was almost like, because my UVA experience was relatively not negative, but it was just like, I wasn't ready for college. This was almost healing to some extent, because it was like seeing it from another perspective, but being so close that it felt like I was almost there again, but then also being an outsider and just witnessing it. Yeah. And I made some great friends with these girls along the process. So, like, those are blessings. And I don't think it was a negative experience altogether, but it was definitely weird. And then I was looking to, at that point I knew I was moving into my parents' house. And so I started like dating like a normal person because it felt ready. At first I was like, I don't know. Like, I really want to date people. I'm living with a bunch of sorority girls. This is quite embarrassing. Yeah. What do you do? I'm unemployed. Where do you live? With sorority girls. How about you? What do you do?
But you're still young enough you can get away with it.
I'm getting up there to where it was like
42.
Yeah, true. But it was just still feeling like, even like the college kids, they'd have parties downstairs and they'd be like, oh my God, what sorority are you in? I'm like, so I'm 27. Actually, no, graduated.
It's like a real Tommy Boy situation.
And so at that point, I met my current boyfriend, who I'm dating, on none other than the apps.
The apps.
Yeah. So I got on the apps.
On the apps.
And I was like scrolling through and I was like, wait, I know this kid. I was like, how the fuck do I know him? You like see a face and you're like, I've come across you at some point. So I swiped and he was like, Cassidy. When we like met, he was like, Cassidy. I'm like, how do I know this kid? Oh my God, I could not remember. And he told me, it was like, yeah, we were in calculus class together. And I was like, oh my God, we were. You dropped out. And so like we were in calculus class together and like we religiously sat, like he sat behind me, I sat in front of him. And then one day he just didn't show up. And then it was like 3 weeks he didn't show up, but he didn't text me. And I was like concerned because I was like, I don't know. That seems weird. Like, why did he just stop showing up? So I don't remember this, but I don't think I was drunk, but I just don't know why I don't remember this. But apparently I showed up at his apartment.
Oh.
Like, and I was like, I knocked on the door and I was like, why are you not in class?
You don't remember me? You used to stalk me.
Yeah.
That's
and
hilarious.
he was like,
awesome.
I've dropped out. And I was like, why? And we had like a whole conversation and then I left and that was the end of that.
And then
until
you ran across his face again and was like, I know him for some reason.
Yeah.
That's hilarious.
So this song that I've chosen is a tribute to us meeting again, and it's called Around and Around by, I think, the Happy Fits.
Happy Fits, yeah.
It's a stupid little pop song, but I just thought it was kind of fun.
That's a great story. I like that. Happy Fits.
Here we go.
The Happy Fits. That was a rocking song, man.
I don't know what else they have ever made, but that song I quite enjoy.
How did you find that song?
I have no idea. It must have been, I think it was on my recommended, we were just talking about the algorithm. I think it was on my recommended like release radar.
Yeah.
Which I love the release radar.
Yeah, that was a really good song.
So yeah,
so that was number 10, huh?
That was number 10. Yeah, that's where I'm at now, I suppose.
Here.
To Charlottesville, where I took a job at the Random Pan Company.
Random Pan. Yeah, how did you find out about this
Blanc?
place?
Oh, I was like, so I knew I had the way that my work history has evolved, it's kind of like in the realm of marketing and advertising, I have all of the knowledge of the back end because I've always done like ad placement, ad research, marketing research. I've never done it like front end. Mm-hmm. And so I was like, well, I like research. Like that's how I am. That's my brain. I'm definitely more oriented that way. But I also want to know if what I'm doing and researching and like trying to understand is actually effective. And the only way to do that is like to actually do it. So then I was trying to find a job where I was like actually doing marketing. Mm-hmm. But because I had never actually done marketing before, like everyone was like, oh, 3 years experience of marketing. And I'm like, okay, well, I kind of have some. I wrote research papers for Nike. Does that count? Yeah. And they're like, no.
And you came here and you were like, I do marketing. I'm like, cool, you're hired. And then first day at work, you're like, what do I do? I'm like, I don't know. You do marketing.
Okay, but also to be fair to me,
like you do marketing, right? Do it.
Market
it. But yes, also there wasn't like a really like there was nothing already. I kind of expected there to be some sort of like, oh, this is what we do. How would you change it? But it was kind of like, nah, we don't do anything. And it's like, what do you want to do? And I was like, not prepared for that.
That's why we were hiring a marketer.
Okay, you weren't even hiring a marketer. You were hiring a social media content creator.
Isn't that in the realm of marketing?
It's in the realm, but like, I actually transformed the role myself. I feel like I was like, this needs to be more than social media. I was like, you guys have enough. First of all, so what ended up happening was that like, I got hired and then Vu is a former worker. He was like transferring the website over. And so then I got like really involved in that for like 3 months. And at that point, I knew so much about the back end that it was kind of like, well, I'm not just going to do social media. Like I am now in the back. Yeah. I'm in the back. Like I'm going to be like.
You made the website. Now you got to run the website.
Yeah. Now I have to run the website because no one understands how to run the website really.
I do not understand.
And it's not, it is confusing.
Yeah.
It's not like the most straightforward platform. So I started doing that and the social media and kind of we did a PR team. Like it was just like a bunch of random stuff. But how I ended up coming upon this job was I just wanted a more hands-on experience. I wanted to do like actual stuff.
Yeah.
Not just like tell people what to do, but like what would happen if I actually did it.
Right.
So I was looking for positions that would allow me to do that. And I wanted to work for a small company. I didn't want to work for a big company anymore. Like I very closely almost worked for Willow Tree, which is that software company.
Yeah.
in Charlottesville. But
I bet they don't have a rockin' podcast.
I don't think they actually they probably do. They probably have some like tech podcasts.
Yeah, that's
like
true.
Coders 101 or something.
Yeah, but it wouldn't be as rad as us. They have a blog box.
Yeah, it's true.
Yeah.
So yeah, I applied around, and then I thought I was gonna get this other job, and I didn't get it, and then I applied here, and we sat down, and I met you and Vu, and I was like, "Well, this is very chill. I think this will work."
Yeah, it's a good vibe here, man.
It's a great vibe.
Yeah.
And then Cassidy came to work, went into her office, door closed, light never came on. She never really said a word at all for like a month.
And Corey was like, "What the fuck?"
And me and Vu were like, dude, I think she's doing something in there, but like, I don't know. We're like, we're both kind of like, we hired her to do something. Maybe she's doing it. We don't know what it is. So what did we hire? We hired her to do something, right? And then she like makes this presentation, sits me and Vu down, and we're like, fuck, okay. She's been doing something.
Yeah. I went through like I put together like a marketing plan, like a brand plan, like my analysis of everything. And honestly, and whether or not that was entirely helpful is debatable, but because it's like what I was familiar with, I was like, that makes sense to me as a starting point.
Yeah.
Like, but it was actually even if no one used it, and I think I still kind of ended up using it to some regard, it helped me like familiarize myself with everything really quickly. Totally. So that was kind of the idea, was I was like, I'm going to put together this whole brand marketing spiel, and by doing that, I'm going to get to know what I'm actually working for.
Yeah, that makes total sense.
Yeah, in the past, what's happened is I've worked for like brands and companies, and even I was working on the research side, but like it wasn't even till close to when my job was over that I had any idea of like exactly what I was doing. Mm-hmm. Speaking of which, I have a hilarious story. This is an intermission. So before I worked for Gardner, I worked for iHeartRadio.
I know iHeartRadio.
Yeah. They own 70% of all U.S. radio stations, something ridiculous like that.
Like, how does that work with like not Cellar Door? What's the other one that owns? Oh
my God.
It's just flown right out of my head.
Yes, Search the Sea.
Yep. That's why
they also own billboards, because for some reason radio stations and billboards are the same thing. They all own.
Yeah, because it's all advertising.
Yeah. But it's also the most difficult advertising because there's no data.
Yeah.
No data.
Gotcha.
And that was what was wild, as I was doing research for them, but with no data.
Yeah. At least a billboard, you can be like, this many people drive by.
We think, because they do have like but even radio was like, we think.
Yeah, because you don't know how many.
And how many eyes. Yeah. But an aside, so it was my first week working at iHeartRadio, and I get in the Clear Channel. Yes, that's the other one. And I'm like leaving, and it's just me, and someone like sticks their hand into the elevator door and like opens it and gets in, and it's Sean Hannity. And he gets in with me, and he immediately is like, "Who are you? What do you do?" And I tell him, and he's like, "Where did you go to school?" And I was like, UVA. And this is 2018, 2019. He's like, "What do you think about them taking down the statues?" And I'm in the elevator, and I'm like, I have no idea about the politics of this radio station, and like whether or not I know he's important. He obviously makes them a lot of money. I feel like I'm not.
Yeah.
So I said, I have no opinion on the matter. I think that was literally verbatim what I said. Yeah. And then he like goes into this, somehow he makes a 15-minute spiel and like compiles it into 30 seconds that we're on the elevator. It is just like, and I'm just like sitting in my backpack like, where am I? What is this? What is happening? And then we get off, and he's like, "It was so nice to meet you." I'm like, "You too."
Yeah,
so that's when I met Sean Hannity.
Like, what do you expect this employee to like say to you? Like, give your honest opinion?
I'm not going to give. Yeah, you ask someone who's quite literally like an underling, like
yeah, it's just
there's just no way. So that was hilarious.
Anyway, so where are we at here? So
now we're at present, I suppose, because it's 10+1. This song I've heard. Do I know what it's saying? Absolutely not. Not a clue. It's in Spanish. Nick actually picked this one out, who's my boyfriend. We are moving to Mexico.
Which is very exciting.
Yes.
But you're
next
not
Wednesday.
leaving. You're still staying with us.
I'm still staying. I'm working remotely, but yes, I am moving to Mexico, which is a whole nother podcast in and of itself. But essentially, I wanted to.
Dude, your apartment would be an awesome podcast. We got to go down there and do
It would be.
on-site.
Yeah.
It's very cool.
10
On
plus
location.
10 plus 1 on the road.
10 plus 1 en español.
It's very easy to get to, and doors are open, as I've said. So we got the big ass
courtyard
house
out there, you know, with the palm trees behind us.
Yeah.
So
part of the reason we want to get you in here early is because you're leaving.
Yes.
So we want to get you in before you go. But you're still with us. You're just going to be working remotely.
Yes.
We'll be Zooming you.
yeah.
And
Which is fine. And for my position, it'll be fine. It'll be a bummer not to be around everyone all the time.
we
But
are going to miss you.
yeah. And
Especially
I'll miss
now, because I know it's not the end yet, but I just wanted to say before we get to it, like I know you, but like you're in your office, I'm out there doing stuff, and like I don't really know you. And part of the reason we're doing this podcast is because like we don't really like I know everybody. We hang out,
everyone's
we
in
talk
their own
shit,
zone
but, like,
here at work.
Yeah.
But like it's been like an actual like pleasure to get to know you.
Oh, I
after all this time.
appreciate
Of course,
that.
like, and you're leaving tomorrow, but like it's cool, and like I've always liked you, but I like you a lot now. Like your music doesn't suck. You have interesting stories. You're like a cool person, and like I always assumed that, but I didn't know it. But that's like
fair.
part of the reason we're doing this.
I
you
mean,
know?
it's fair in the way that like sometimes I can be bad about like socializing on like a.
Hence the sitting in her office in the dark with the doors closed.
Yeah.
I did think that you hated me for a minute.
No, it's
but,
not
like,
that.
I realized
I'm
like no, it's just how she is.
weird.
Yeah.
It's truly just that. I'm just weird.
People think that about me sometimes too. Like I thought you hated me because you make fun of me. I'm like, no, I make fun of you because I love you, stupid.
So, when I'm in work mode, sometimes I just like I completely cannot.
Yeah, and there was no like bad thoughts. Like
No, yeah, it was, yeah, but I appreciate that. Excellent. And I'm happy to move, and I'm sad to move, and I'm excited to move, and it's gonna be terrible and great and all the different things because when you move to a country where you don't speak the language, it's a whole situation.
But I'm sure you'll be back to visit your folks and stuff for Christmas and whatever. So you gotta come back and hang out with us. And
I absolutely will be. Like I'm definitely gonna be back in September. I think is when I'm gonna be back next, and June potentially for weddings and such. But
cool.
I'm sure I'll be back also in between there just to actually do some core visits.
Yeah.
But
I know it's like our pool party is going to be in July, but like you've got a private pool in Mexico.
Yeah.
Well, it's the semi-private pool.
Yeah, and I mean our pool parties are pretty epic. Though.
Yeah.
Well, to be fair, also at that time it's going to be living hell where we are because it's going to be like 100 and something degrees
So
and like 90% humidity.
90, yeah.
So
And plus, we eat pizza at the pool party, but you can't really eat tacos at a pool party.
no, tacos are tough at a pool party. Yeah,
it'll be tough. But man, you're gonna have some awesome food. I'm so jealous.
the food there is very good. It's like the gastro. It's a World Heritage Site for gastronomy.
Okay.
Really?
I mean, I did see there's like a Travel and Leisure magazine article on
Merida.
That's like the art scene down there.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, and I saw some pictures and like the cool like painted terracotta tile architecture and like, just everything looks legit, and it seems like there's a scene evolving and happening down there.
And it's like I don't want to blow this up. I'm trying to keep it on the DL, but it's like there's a lot of enterprise that's going on there, and like you can still buy a house for $90,000. So it's kind of like what a lot of people have been doing. A lot of people from other parts of Mexico, and then a lot of Mexican Americans have just been buying property, renovating it, Airbnb-ing it for now, and holding on to it because everyone thinks it's gonna like become a thing because it is becoming a thing.
The current era in Mexico.
Yeah. Mexico is becoming like a lot of U.S. people live in.
A lot.
I've
been thinking about it for years.
I mean, it just financially makes a lot of sense.
And it's like culturally.
And the
cool.
healthcare for when you get older is great there. And there's a lot of reasons. But
And Mexican people are like the raddest people.
Yeah, and they're
I've
also
ever
just
met in my
cool.
life. I love them.
I agree.
Yeah.
So. All right.
All right. So for number 11,
All right, Cassie,
your final song.
You gonna announce this one?
No, I didn't mean to. Sorry.
So the name of the song is Que Maldición.
Very good. Sure.
By whom?
Banda MS de Sergio
Before you click on it.
Ligera. I don't, and it's Snoop Dogg.
And Snoop Dogg.
All right.
So I see that.
There's nothing that Snoop Dogg won't attach to. So this is a song that Nick turns you on to?
We've listened to it. So I was asking him, I was like, what's a good Mexico song? Like to represent the next era. And he was like, he just like immediately pulled this up. And I was
All
like,
right.
all right. And he played it. I was like, oh yeah, this one. I've heard it. Like I've heard it, like they play it at the like restaurants and such there. So it's
All right, let's do it.
So here we go. All right.
Another jammer out of you.
This is a final banger.
Yeah, like terribly impressed. That one got me like Snoop Dogg rapping in Spanish.
I know.
Dude.
Spanglish, Spanish and English. He was crushing it. And that was just smooth and slick.
I know. It's
Yeah.
a
Well,
You
fantastic
said like
song.
I'm ready for the pool party now.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that's a pool party song. And I was saying like the cool Mexican music's like the last bastion of the
Yeah.
tuba.
Yeah,
Like,
yeah,
like the
yeah,
pop tuba,
yeah.
man. Like who brings out the tuba unless you're playing polka? Other than like
It's
just
like
badass.
the perfect music for a place that is 90 degrees all year round.
Yeah.
Which is where I'm going. So
And you just gotta look forward to the good stuff, like whatever it is. You look forward to
You're
the
gonna get to do like siestas.
yeah,
You know,
man.
that midday heat. You're just like,
yeah.
chill.
I know that's the thing is I have no idea how like our pattern of life is going to evolve there.
Yeah.
No
I've
concept.
never lived in a foreign country. Like you've been to foreign countries
Yeah,
a lot,
but
but
not
not like
lived.
living. Like it's a big step. And
Mexico, especially, well, I don't know. Merida's like where the Spanish landed in Mexico, which is the Yucatan Peninsula. So it was there. Like they were like one of the first cities ever by the white people. But also has a huge Mayan culture. So it's like this interesting duality of, you know, the Mayan culture that has existed, the Spanish culture, and then what has evolved since then to kind of be a combination of the two. So they do in some regard have siestas, seemingly, because it has a lot of Spanish influence. But then the Mayans are just like the coolest, low-key, chillest people. I can't distinguish between like different groups of people. Nick seems to be able to tell like, oh, they're Mayan. Oh, they're regular. Oh, they're Mexican. Oh, they're whatever. And I'm just like, everyone to me is just Mexican,
You'll
but
figure it out.
yeah, there is obviously some distinguishing features. And apparently the way they speak is very
Yeah,
different.
I would imagine.
Nick's like they
when
have
you
an
know
accent.
what you're looking to. Yeah.
And I'm like, really? Because I
They have
haven't.
an accent.
I'm like, to me, it's all Spanish. So I don't know.
But that'll come. You'll figure that
But
out.
I think, unfortunately, the accent is a little bit like quicker and more like one toned than the rest of the country. So it's like hard for me to understand because I'm like, I barely understand to begin with. And then when it's like,
A
it's just
really
like one,
fast foreign language when you're trying to learn a foreign language.
it's very
just
tough.
like,
It's
yeah.
tough.
what?
But
I think it'll just click eventually.
that's
Like,
what
you'll
everyone
just
says.
start.
We'll
Like,
see.
I wouldn't be worried about it.
There's no point of being worried about
Are you
it.
planning on taking classes? or
Yes.
anything?
Yeah. I'm going to sign up for classes.
Take classes. Hang out with old ladies.
Do Babbel. Do you know
No,
Babbel?
old ladies is huge.
Yeah, hang
And
out with old ladies. Like
I've been
cook
doing
with them.
Duolingo. I just finally broke my 127th day streak because I was like, I need a break before I go back to Mexico. Because I know I'm going to be doing it like a job.
Yeah.
I'm going to have to. I'm going to have to commit hours a day because I already, when I was down there and I couldn't speak, I hated it because Nick said, and he was like, Cassidy, you're going to learn because you're very independent. And the minute you lose that independence, you're going to fucking hate it.
Yeah.
And it was true because the minute I couldn't do something on my own, I was like angry. I was like, I need to be able to do this on my own. Like I can't rely on him or other people.
I feel
to
the
do
same way
this.
going to Poland. Just like going to the gas station
Yes.
to grab something at the store. Or
And someone asks
anything.
you a question and you're
And
just
you're
like,
just like, ugh. Yeah.
can't
And you can
answer
only
it.
point and grunt, so much. And it's like, you just have to do it. And just the numbers for currency
Yeah.
and money and change and simple things. It's so frustrating.
but so what's been really helpful is that my boyfriend's best friend's wife is Costa Rican, the one we went to the wedding for. And she moved to the US with like very little. Like she'd been learning English in Ireland actually beforehand, but then like she didn't have like a huge base of it. So she's just been describing to me like how it was learning. And she was like, it's just really normal when your brain freezes. Like when you literally like someone's speaking to you and your brain literally freezes. You know the sensation when someone's talking to you in Polish and like, it's like it literally feels like everything stalls. Like you're at a stall. Like the computer screen is frozen. You can no longer program.
You're at a dinner with 20 people and everyone's talking.
I know. And you're just
and
like,
it's like, what? I want to be involved.
I want to participate.
Yeah.
So like, I know that the fury of not being able to participate fully is what's going to drive me to like actually be a participant. So I think I'll be fine. I'm a little concerned because I know like naturally I'm not a great language learner. Like I'm good at a lot of things, mostly like philosophical, like more ambiguous concept.
And the older you are, the harder it is to learn.
And also that. But I also just know that like it's never been my strength. Like I've always done like well in classes because I'm a good learner. I'm a good test taker. Yeah. And so even Duolingo, that was the thing I was like, I can like kind of cheat the system here. Like I know how to like get the questions right, but I'm not actually learning anything.
I don't know how Duolingo works, but I like Babbel, and I'll go through phases like before I go to Poland and doing Babbel. But it makes you speak, and it'll take the words and mix up the letters, and you have to like correct the letters to make the word. And I really, really like Babbel.
That's better because I think the problem I run into Duolingo is it's too similar to like a Spanish class that I can kind of cheat through once I learn the system.
Yeah, you can't teach, and you have to speak too.
It makes you...
if your pronunciation is not correct, it's wrong.
Yeah.
You know, so you have to work on it.
Yeah. Okay. So
Duolingo for me, it was easy to crack.
Once you crack the code, you know, like, so, and it's like, you want to keep your streak. So you're like, fuck it. I'll just like do this like really quickly. Yeah. And you like know how to do it. But then did I absorb anything from that lesson? Absolutely not.
In my head when I was doing Haitian Creole, and I was like, I'm still getting it. You know what I mean? It's like in my head of like, so long as I'm still doing it, even though I've kind of cracked the code. But then you move to the next level, you learn some things, but you learn it slow.
Yeah.
But yeah,
why did you choose Haitian Creole?
My father's Haitian.
Really? I went to Haiti.
Oh, really?
Yeah. This is a crazy story, and you can cut this.
But anyway.
Abused. But yeah, any point. That was just the story that I had because that was an experience that I had, and it was like very, just like another one of my like random life experiences.
Yeah, you've had a very cool life for being a young person. And like, I mean, you're not like the youngest person, but like, you know what I mean?
Thank you.
You're a young person.
Youngish.
And
I'm starting to get wrinkles, but
you're younger than me, who just turned 45 today.
Today's
my
Chris Fox's birthday.
We're not doing that.
Sing it, Cassidy.
Yeah, unless Corey does the Marilyn Monroe version, Mr. President.
Stolat. Fuck, I can't. I actually can sing it when other people are singing it, and Elena sings it all the time. Yeah. But Stolat,
I appreciate it.
100 years, 100 years is what Stolat translates to.
I'm not that old, man. I'm 45.
No, it's wishing you 100 years.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
So like, you sing it.
I look that
at
bad.
least 100 years.
You always
I've been dyeing my beard.
So first of all, 45 is like I would have guessed much younger. So that's it's true. Yeah. But
it's all the whiskey and tequila.
It just keeps me young.
So right now, and as of this moment, at least it'll change in a week or two, but there's a 20, a 30, and a 40. We got 3 decades in the box right now.
Nice.
I like that.
That is cool. Yeah.
I like that.
All right.
All right. So I guess that's it, huh?
Yeah, that's a wrap.
Yeah, you did great. This was a very enlightening podcast, and I'm very happy that we got you in here before you left. And
we got all the logistical stuff out in the beginning, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So check us out you're listening on Spotify, YouTube. YouTube won't have the music, but
It'll have all of Cassidy's stories.
They'll have all of Cassidy's
stories. Which is
stories.
the most important part.
Yeah.
It totally
is.
Really good stories. Like, I thought I was going to have good stories, but I didn't really tell any. But like, yeah, this was great. And what do you like to add to the end?
What are we drinking today?
Oh, yeah, that's right.
Yeah, we got to do the drink of the day.
Actually, I need a little bit
So
more.
we're drinking the Balvenie 14 year, the Caribbean cask.
Caribbean Cask Balvenie 14. Do you need a little top off before we go, Kim?
Sure.
There.
If Nick shows up, I'm gonna give him a little bit.
Yeah, of course.
So,
We should have done that. We need to do this on 10.
going to a family dinner tonight, so that should be fun.
And we like to end every podcast with a cheers. And thank you for sharing. And
Thank you for having me.
we'll have you again when you're back.
Love you guys. You're the best.
Boom, I'm gonna miss your face.
I'm gonna miss you guys. But also, please come to Mexico. I'm serious.
We will.
Serious.
Blanc Creatives,
You can charter a
episode 4
in the books.
in the book.
All right, maybe
Signing
you
off.
do. Can we? Oh, sign off. Yes.
No, wait. What?
No,
what?
say
I was
You
just
guys
gonna say we should do a company retreat to Mexico, and you guys can visit me.
Okay.
Just a
Yeah, we
thought.
can talk about that.
I thought you were
after
gonna
the
give out like a
podcast.
discount code for like weekend stays at your spare bedroom Airbnb.
We'll see if we get that desperate.
All right, guys. We'll see y'all next week. Thank you very much.
Let's see.
Adios.
If anyone's listening now, use code Cassidy15
15% off.
for 15% off. Cassidy15 for 15%
And
do you
off.
spell
I will be the one
Cassidy?
making this
Cassidy, you're gonna have
code.
to spell that,
And
'cause
I'm
I don't know how to spell
honored.
CASSIDY.
Very good.
15 Cassidy15 15% off. Let's see how many. Let's see how many people listen to this talk.
Thank you very much, guys.
Thanks, guys.
See you next
Bye.
week. Dude, that was rad. Give me a